Let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go yourself. Okay?
Like Don Lemon, who's been emailing me recently, and I just loved his thing to Megyn Kelly. He just goes, "Hey, you know what, you Megyn, about Joy Reid, because she's just a mean girl. She's first of all, she calls Joy Reid racist. You got fired for being racist and defending blackface. Joy Reid is not racist. They were, citing her talking about how white women didn't turn out for Kamala. Well, guess what, Bob? White women didn't turn out for Kamala.
They didn't.
She just speaks the truth, and it scares people. 92% of black women turned out. 53%, Jody just Googled, of white women, voted for Trump.
These are people who are so concerned about the definition of what a pronoun is, certain words that you should be able to say, but you can't. But what they don't understand, and they've never understood, is the actual definition of racism. And they've been misusing it all this time to kind of create this, I don't know what they consider it to be, reverse racism, where you can be racist against the majority of the population, which is impossible because racism involves, coming from a place of power and punching down rather than
and I was just talking
the
about
opposite of that.
How mean these maggots were to me in Bakersfield when I went there to speak. And, this is like, but the other part of Megyn Kelly does not just say, oh, she's the worst person on television, she's the biggest but then she said, but we won't have her to kick around anymore, so that there's a sadness in that. I mean, that's just a bully. Just F you.
Right.
And you'd think, as someone that's also been fired in TV, you'd have a little bit of empathy, as Jane Fonda would say. That's what woke means. Just you give a damn about other people. You don't celebrate people's misfortune.
And going back to what you were saying before about all of us sticking together, the old hang together or hang separately idea. You and I come from broadcast. Well, you're still in broadcast radio, but
I think so. Well, barely. Barely.
There you are on the radio. Wow, that's incredible. But in radio in the old days, and this is what I'm trying to get at, that years and years ago, radio was always hyper competitive, where you never talked about or praised even your colleagues on your own radio station.
That's right.
Much less people on other radio stations. And so, but we're in a different territory now with podcasting and independent media, where it's mandatory that we lift each other up, that we support each other, and make sure that we're promoting each other.
You know what just came to mind as you were saying that is Howard Stern, who, is my colleague here, obviously, at SiriusXM. And that was used to be the whole thing, them all talking smack about each other and, different morning shows. And look at what Howard Stern is involved into, today, is who was just probably the best interviewer in the country, a champion,
Those of you who
a
don't
champion for, the downtrodden. And, he lifts a lot of people up now. He's evolved with the times.
Oh, absolutely. Howard Stern has always had that instinct for where to go as far as reflecting the culture at the moment.
Yeah.
And those of you who don't remember the 80s and early 90s probably don't know about all the funerals Howard used to have for his competition.
Yeah, for the other morning show in town. He'd come to town. And
Ask John DeBella in Philadelphia what that's like. But we're well beyond that now, and anyone who's still playing that game, they're doing it wrong. Anyone who's still like, I'm not going to talk about that other podcaster or broadcaster.
There's room for all of us, and we all win. And Rachel said something like that, too, about if we all, watch as one of us after the other gets picked off, and you're not standing up for the person. I mean, Rachel just was a model of not just class, but courage. I mean, let me just finish this, what Nicole Wallace said. She said to Reid, I'm going to break the rules the same way Rachel broke the rules and tell you that I love you. More of this, please. She said the happiest times I've had, not just as MSNBC, but ever on television, has been sitting next to the two of you. She said the readout being canceled is like losing a limb, claiming she felt despair. But this is important, Bob. She said the only thing that chips away at that for me is that despair is the autocrat's tool. It's their most effective weapon. It costs nothing. It's easy to deploy. It's contagious. And then it puts in motion all the actions they want: hopelessness, isolation, exasperation, giving up. And so the reason I will not wallow in what I feel about you leaving is because I think that's what they want. I mean, good for her. Like Jane Fonda said, stay in community. Right.
And along those lines, too, I think there's a lot of discontent. Obviously, I'm understating it. We're all angry at the traditional news media for how they miscovered the 2024 election and even earlier than that and so on, going back years and years and years. But I think what we should do moving forward now that we've all kind of recovered from the impact of the election, is to support the cable news hosts and programs that are actually doing the right thing.
Right.
We don't have to listen and watch everything
Yeah.
on cable news, but there are still good people on these networks who we should support, and I think that's important.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to get canned too.
Thank you. I
And
said
then
that.
suddenly-
And
yeah.
this is the only left-leaning network we have. I don't actually want MSNBC to go away entirely. So support the shows like Rachel and Lawrence and Nicole and the people that
Chris Hayes,
and Chris Hayes, people that are right. I mean, I just think you can't send a message more clearly that Morning Joe has got to go. That's the one that bent the knee. You can't reward the people that bent the knee and fire the person that's been. And also read the room, Bob. This is where the resistance is building everywhere, in town halls, in polling. Like you are absolutely going. What says John Candy would say? You're going the wrong way.
Right.
And by the way, you're the only boy we're letting in the fort this hour, in the girls' club here. But Lawrence O'Donnell, as we know, is just our hero. And he said, I'm going to skip the love stuff. We did that on Saturday. He said to Joy, but he read from her book, again, lifting her up in her great book, Medgar and Murley, who I had her on for that as well. Fantastic. And he said, this is the decisive battleground for America. O'Donnell quoted a civil rights activist from the book. And, so anyway, we have great allies everywhere. We just got to stick together.
And it kind of hit close to home with this round of firings in MSNBC because, quite honestly, and I don't mean to make this all about me, but Joy Reid and Alex Wagner were the only two people on that network who ever paid attention to anything I did.
Yeah.
They would routinely mention me on their shows, and I think I've interacted with them a few times on social media. And so that's the kind of outreach that I think we should appreciate. That they're not only willing to support each other, but also people who are mid-level podcasters who play fart sounds on their shows.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's not to say like I've been on Ari Melber's show. I'm just not a fan. I honestly, one of the only times I watch is when Katie Fang was filling in, and that's a bad move.
Katie Fang's another one.
And I'm
sorry, a tragic loss that is.
And by the way, I keep saying I love this weekend show. We have Michael Steele on the show all the time, and I think Simone Sanders, Alicia Menendez are great. Put them in Morning Joe. That's what I've been saying. I'm not trying to say like or reconstitute Morning Joy, which was a wildly popular show, and put them in Joy's spot. But anyway, there was some other moves because I think there's stuff I wasn't. So I'm glad they're still using some of the talent, even though some of them are losing shows. It looks like they're introducing a new trio of co-hosts to anchor on the weekend, 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. edition of the weekend. So Jonathan Capehart will co-anchor the morning edition. Eamon Mohideen will anchor the evening edition. Ali Velshi will expand, and I'm a huge fan of Ali's, as you know.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah,
so
he's another one.
That's good news.
Yeah, I know personally.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, so I'm just trying to see here. Yeah, so I guess part of the Katie Fang thing, they're closing broadcasting operations in Miami. That's a cost-cutting thing, but she's terrific, Katie Fang, and they really should find,
Yeah, Katie Fang, and much like Joy Reid, they are genuine broadcasters. I mean, they know what they're doing as far as just the nuts and bolts, that they have that spark, they have that talent, that gift for broadcasting, and that's something obviously that you have, and other people we know. Randy Rhodes has that, and John Fugelsang, and certainly Hal Sparks, and that's a rare gift now, where you see a lot of people just kind of doing it because they've got the access to a microphone, but there are some people among us who are just immensely talented broadcasters, and that's something I
That's
respect.
Another example. I just saw Randy did Pamela Brown. I think it's because I mentioned it because they asked me, and it's when I'm on the air, and so they said, "Do you know anyone else?" And I gave them all. I'm like Randy Rhodes, Tom Hartman, John Fugelsang. Do you know Badal? There's
Tom. Yeah,
we have
of course.
so much great talent on our side, and so again, that's how you pass the baton. Just like, no, I can't do that, but these people are all terrific, and that's how we build it.
I was saying on my show yesterday, they need some sort of umbrella subscription service for Substack where you can subscribe to a group of shows because there's so many shows to subscribe to and to support. I'm concerned that maybe it's a little oversaturated. It's to handle. But there was one thing I noticed the other day.
So we had a whole conversation about solidarity, and now you're ready to push some people out of the lifeboat. Is that what you're saying?
No, but I mean, it's a lot of different choices and a lot. And I guess there are enough of us that we can support everybody. But I did notice when I was looking at the Apple Podcast rankings that in the top 10 in the news and politics section of Apple Podcasts, there are only 2 liberal shows.
Right.
I think the Midas Show and Pod Save America. Those are the only 2 in the top 10 on Apple Podcasts in the news section. And we got to fix that because all the rest are MAGA shows. I mean, I think the New York Times is in there, but I'm talking about individual independent podcasts. And
I have a suggestion. Bob Seska. I never, ever miss it. It is the best podcast in the world.
The Stephanie Miller podcast.
Well, I mean, we keep trying to explain to people, because you're a radio nerd. We're not a podcast. We're a national radio TV show that does 15 hours a week of new content.
But there is a podcast version of the show. Too.
But it doesn't get on podcast lists because it's paid. The Stephcast is a commercial-free paid podcast. So I mean the stuff we repurpose, the happy hours and the out of the gate.
Oh yes, that's it. Yeah. And then I think John Fugelsang also has the podcast version of his show too. So support that as well. But this is vitally important that we all rally behind independent voices. I'm not saying that to be self-serving. I don't care if you support my show or not, although that would be great. But the fact is that we need to extend that support to the good voices on cable as well.
Absolutely. By the way, before you go real quick, because you brought this up, thank you to our friend Aaron Rupar. Complete bat lunacy on the President's Truth social account. Yes, he really posted this ad for Trump Gaza.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Have you seen it with the golden statue of Trump and the gold and it is
and if you notice
jaw dropping, even if you feel like your jaw is no longer capable of dropping. Right.
Yeah. And not a shock. I've already gone through the thing like the Zapruder footage, and I've noticed a lot of stuff. Like there are dancing women in it who also have beards, and and then Donald Trump in the very end when he's sitting by the pool with his shirt off with Bibi Netanyahu, Donald Trump has a superfluous third nipple. And these are the things that I tend to notice. It's the janky AI.
I mean, can I just say,
and he's so proud of it, proud of his third nipple.
Our friend John Pavlovitz posted it and said, "Way to go, all you leftist performance artists. You sure showed Kamala Harris."
Yep.
I mean,
oh, well, there's that too. I mean, my God, talk about just walking right into a propeller. The fact is that we all warned people that Donald Trump was going to be a gazillion times worse when it came to Gaza and that crisis there. And here we are. He's going to, I assume, just carpet bomb all of it and start fresh. I mean, I don't know how he's planning to do this, but it's ethnic cleansing. It is.
Bob, I've gotten the symbol from Bella, which is basically, Grandma, finish your pudding.
Sorry.
It's time to, done with your pudding.
Fair
time
enough.
to go to bed. Okay, love you. Oh, hey there, it's Stephanie Miller. If you're like me and you love sharp political insight, pointy, you like it pointy and sharp, bold opinions, and a touch of humor to make sense of these crazy times, have I got some fantastic news for you. The Political Voices Network is now on Substack. This is your new go-to for the best in independent media. We're talking about my show streaming daily with episodes on demand, the fearless of journalism of Brian Karem, the brilliant side-splitting satire of John Fugelsang, the unrelenting working class advocacy of Rick Smith, and so much more. Here's the best part. Subscribing is so easy. You can join for free or go to the extra mile. Support these incredible independent voices by signing up for a full subscription starting at just $8. You'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and a chance to directly fuel fearless, unfiltered media. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Hit that subscribe button and become part of the movement keeping truth alive in an era of corporate media overload. Every subscription helps, especially yours. One more time, that is politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Sign up now. Do it.